Okay, so we're going to do some of the problems on our homework tonight. You're going to have to match up the wording because they're not numbered, but this is the first one. It is the one of the first ones on one of the sides. If a car travels at a speed of 30 miles per hour, how far will it go in 5 hours? So we are going to be using the distance formula, which is distance equals rate times time. Now let's reread the problem and see if we can identify what's the distance, what's the rate, or the time. If a car travels at a speed of 30 miles per hour, remember we said that that word per is a signal that this is going to be our rate. How far will it go? So we're trying to find how far it will go. That's going to be our distance in 5 hours. 5 hours is obviously going to be our time. So the distance we don't know, but we know that the rate is going to be 30. And the time is going to be 5, but I don't want to just write down 30 and 5 without putting a multiplication symbol between them. So now I just do this multiplication, which I can do in my head by using the 0 rule. 5 times 3 is 15, and then I put back 1 0. So it's 150, but we need to have a label. If I'm asking how far it will go, I'm talking about distance. Let's think about those words we identified in class today. One of the words that identifies distance would be miles, and in this question, that is the unit that we're using to record the distance. So 150 miles. So now the one right below that is the second one I'll be going over, and it's if a plane travels a distance of 2,500 miles in 5 hours, what is its average speed or rate? So again, I'm going to use that distance formula. Distance equals rate times time. I'm going to reread the problem again. If a plane travels a distance of 2,500 miles, so this actually tells us that that's our D. In 5 hours, that's going to be our T, our time, what is its average speed or rate? So this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the R. So I'm going to replace the variables that are given to me. The D is 2,500. The rate I do not know, but the time is 5. Again, we need to put that multiplication symbol in there because remember, it's only when the coefficient comes before the variable that we don't need a symbol. We don't need that multiplication sign. So now this is a multiplication equation. One step, we have to solve it. If this is multiplication going on, I need to make sure that I divide both sides. But we have to think about what we're going to divide both sides of the equation by. Remember, our goal is to isolate the variable or get the letter R alone in this case. So I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so I'm left with 1R. And 2,500 divided by 5, again, I'm going to use the 0 trick or the 0 rule. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And then I'm going to put back the 2 zeros. So the rate is 500. But again, I need a label. So I can go back into the problem. We're talking about miles and hours. So it's going to be 500 miles per hour. And I can use MPH as the abbreviation for that. Okay, this third question I'm going to review is the one right next to that problem, to the right. If a car travels 200 miles at a rate of 40 miles per hour, how long will the trip take? Again, we're going to start out with that distance formula, D equals R times T, or distance equals rate times time. I read the problem again. If a car travels 200 miles, that's my distance, at a rate, again, this one tells me what the rate is, 40 miles per hour. How long will the trip take? That's my time. That's what I'm looking for. So the distance is the 200, the rate is 40, and the time is what I don't know. So I'm going to use the variable t. Again, this is a multiplication equation. I'm going to split the equation, divide both sides. I'm using division because it's the inverse of multiplication. And I'm trying to get the t alone. So I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 40. Again, I'm going to use the 0 rule. 20 divided by 4 is 5. These two zeros would end up canceling out, so 5 is the time. But I need a label. 5 what? Let's go back into the question. If I look at the rate, it's 40 miles per hour, so the time would be 5 hours. So try the other ones, just like that, where you identify in the problem which variable that number represents, and we'll see how we do tomorrow.